You're watching Business Digest, the 4th edition. My name is Diana Iriza, and as you know, we have a great show for you, but first, the headlines. Our first story today will be focusing on the growth of beverage manufacturing within the country. How are local beverage companies contributing to the country's revenue and provision of employment? The Made in Rwanda program meets architecture and interior design. We'll have a short insight on the company Pajo Group and the interior design products it manufactures. We shall also be discussing on the new economic reforms that have been set up by the African Union, like the 0.2% levy on eligible imports to finance African Union programs. Last but not least, on the market trends, we bring you today's foreign exchange rates. Rwandan beverage manufacturers have been making and imbibing alcoholic beverages from a wide array of fruits, grains, and other natural substances for as far back as historical record goes, and continues to do so. Fermented drinks have typically been a source of vital nutrients.
In general, here in Speranza, I think we have a high production. In gin production, per day we produce 565 liters per day, and on the side of whiskey we produce 6,000 and above, and we have per week we produce like 20,500 and above liters of gin, and we have different products. I may call it coffee lamb also, and coffee lamb per day we may produce, or we produce 6,700 liters.
Speranza Group Limited is one of the leading manufacturers and distributors of alcoholic beverages in Rwanda. Speranza Group Limited produces 7 highly popular alcohol brands that are bottled in glass: Super Gin No. 1, Speranza Coffee Rum, Golden Sherry, Blue Hills Vodka, and Millennium Hills Whiskey. Despite its provision of job opportunities to the locals in Rwanda and also contributing to the country's revenue, recently the company has expanded into the export market, starting with Uganda.
Most of our products, many buyers we have them here in Rwanda, around the country, around all corners of the country, all provinces. Now we have the distributors, we have the agents in every districts. So, and now these days we are planning to export our products to the region, I mean East African country.
In order to achieve its aim of becoming the leading beverage manufacturer in East Africa, Speranza Group Limited is working on increasing its portfolio in the coming months to include water, soft drinks, and fermented extracts. Its water brand Speranza Mineral Water, which will be processed with the finest technology, is 4 months from launch. The company plans to introduce carbonate sodas in the near future, while its natural juice, to be produced from the best natural concentrates, will be available in mango, orange, blackcurrant, and apple natural flavors. Production of Speranza's fermented banana and tangawizi extracts is already in trial phase, and the products have received a good rating from the consumers. The profession of interior design has been one of the consequences of the development of Rwandan businesses, the complex architecture that has resulted from the development of the industrial processes. The pursuit of effective use of space, user well-being, and functional design has contributed to the development of the contemporary interior design profession. Over the past years, young architects have emerged under the Made in Rwanda program, creating their own original, locally made architectural products.
My name is Patrick. I'm the managing director of Pajo Group. So Pajo Group is a manufacturing company that manufacture different type of furnitures. We started manufacturing the doors and office workstation, but now it's not only doors, but we are also manufacturing the MDF board, which is mostly known from China or Malaysia. So we manufacture also the plywood. As the program Made in Rwanda started, so we are on top manufacturing very good and very classic furnitures. I think we came as a solution. While Made in Rwanda program, many people were asking about how they can get very nice, good product, affordable and high quality products. So we have very good machines that manufacture very quality products. So if we hear the feedback from our customers and from the clients we have been working with, they have really appreciated our quality product. They have really appreciated our capacity production. So it's an opportunity for many Rwandans, and it's the right time to stop importation from outside the country. So it's a very privileged opportunity for Rwandans to have us manufacturing such products, such beautiful products.
Pajo Group, a full-service interior design firm that creates custom interiors, the company combines architecture and interior design to find unique and pleasing solutions. This construction and manufacturing company offers services in sales of bamboo flooring homes and office furniture such as sofa sets, bedrooms, dining wardrobes, drawers, tables, chairs, coffee, aluminum doors and windows, and many more. They also do general civil engineering projects, office partitions, and many more.
So our company is contributing much in the financially in the growth of my country, because we are creating employment, we are creating jobs for many people. As you have seen here, we have a lot of youth who are working, who are learning how to operate with the machines, and who are also helping their families to live daily. And we also contribute in our country in terms of taxes. If we pay taxes, we are contributing the country to increase its infrastructure and its development goals. The challenges, as many businesses do, they face a lot of challenges in terms of finance, in terms of operations. But the more you keep on persistence in the business, is the more you become successful. So the same, we have faced a lot of challenges, especially for getting the technicians who can operate such machines, financial problems. But the more we are keeping on working hard, the more we will be able to deliver high product and start exportation outside the country. So challenges in business exist, but persistence is more important to overcome the challenges.
On the Biz Insider segment, the senior economist of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Mr. Andrew Mould, joins me as we have a review on the new economic reforms being set up by the new chairperson of African Union, President Paul Kagame. Take a look at what he had to say. President Paul Kagame is the new chairperson of African Union, and he proposed a 0.2% levy on eligible imports. And the big question is this reform attainable? Joining me now is a senior economist of the United Nations of Economics Commission for Africa, and he's going to give us his take on this. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Andrew Mould. Now, before we go any further with our interview, I would like you to give us your overview on Rwanda's economy. After all these years of independence, how do you see Rwanda's economy?
Well, the Rwandan economy is doing very well by a number of measures. I think the fact that the investment rate continues to be above 25% is very positive for long-term growth and development. We're forecasting that the EAC region will be growing at 6% in 2018, and Rwanda and Tanzania are amongst the fastest growers within the EAC. So I mean we're pretty optimistic about things going forward for Rwanda.
Now, on our second question, as we know, the president of Rwanda, President Paul Kagame, met the president of the United States just recently, Donald Trump, and amid his strategy of putting America first, do you think it's time for Africa to start creating its own ways, start coming up with its own strategies in tackling economic issues in Africa?
Yes, I mean, I know there's been a lot of controversy over President Trump's position on America first. In actual fact, our organisation has been championing Africa First as one of our slogans for the last few years. I think a degree of promoting national self-interest and national pride is important for any developing country. So that's clearly, I think, completely justified. At the same time, I think also collective action on the part of African states. As a Pan-African organisation, we believe quite strongly in regional integration and cooperation amongst member states to achieve objectives and goals. So yes, Africa first, member states first as well. You would expect presidents of countries to promote the interests of their citizens first and foremost, but also to have a wider view of collective objectives across Africa.
Now, when it comes to the economic reforms that were set up in the past, a couple of member states were not cooperative and they were not committed. How significant is this new reform? Do you think it's going to call out on the members of state and encourage them to be more committed?
Well, I mean, it ultimately depends on the willingness of member states to actually collect those funds and then use them to finance the African Union. I can't really predict how that's going to turn out. What is clear is it's very important that the African Union has stronger finances of its own. At the moment, approximately a third of its funding is through African member states' contributions, but 2/3 is actually dependent on foreign contributions, for example, the European Union. And that is not a good thing over the short to medium term, because clearly the organisation needs its own financial dependence to also have its own political independence. But what is clear is it's very important that the African Union has stronger finances of its own. At the moment, approximately a third of its funding is through African member states' contributions, but 2/3 is actually dependent on foreign contributions, for example, the European Union. And that is not a good thing over the short to medium term, because clearly the organisation needs its own financial dependence to also have its own political independence.
Last but not least, where do you see Rwanda's economy in 5 years from now, and also the region of East Africa? Where do you see our economy 5 years from now?
As I was saying, we're fairly optimistic about regional prospects. We're forecasting growth, for example, 6% in 2018. And Rwanda, along with Tanzania, has been one of the cheerleaders of regional growth, one of the fastest performing economies. There's a couple of areas which I think probably need attention. One is the industrial sector. Industrial sector growth was actually at 0% in the first half of 2017, and clearly that needs to improve, I think, to give the economy a stronger underpinning. There's some good developments. So, for example, the Volkswagen project, which I believe will be starting June, July this year, that will bring in 1,000 jobs and add into the much needed manufacturing capacity. But I think more needs to be done in that sense. Going forward, the service sector strategy, the stressing of tourism, for example, the completion of the projects like the convention centre, you would hope that we start seeing the benefits from those projects in terms of revenues, increased revenues from tourism income. I hope very much the Rwanda Air strategy works, because I think the government's taken quite a bold stance in terms of supporting Rwanda Air. It's very, very important for the Rwanda Air strategy to work, for the whole service sector hub strategy to work. So you would hope to see in the next couple of years Rwanda Air turn profitable and really act as a regional hub, a transport hub for the region. So that would be a positive development. One final thing I think which I think there's common agreement which needs tackling, is the domestic resource mobilisation and the fact that national savings are actually quite low still. With an investment rate 28–29% per year, that's very good for long-term growth, but it needs to be financed. And at the moment, national savings are not around a third of that amount, which means there's still a high dependence on foreign financing. And going forward, mobilising domestic savings more needs to be looked at. And I'd make one final point, I think, about private sector development. At the moment, we've got quite a dynamic level of investment, but 2/3 of that investment comes from the public sector. And ideally, we'd like to see more protagonism from the private sector. And in that sense, it's very, very important, I think, that we look at the banking sector's performance and we look at ways of addressing the lack of credit to the private sector, because I think private sector actors generally complain that credit is too expensive and not sufficiently accessible. So I think those are the areas which probably need attention, but generally speaking, we're very optimistic about the prospects both for Rwanda and the wider EAC region.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Andrew Mould, for having this interview with us on Business Digest. We still have more show for you here on Business Digest. Make sure to keep it locked and don't go anywhere. It is the 6th of February and we bring you the latest updates on what's trending on the market. Once again, on this week, our area of focus will be the foreign exchange market. Just like last week, we will be focusing on the average exchange rates on the regional currencies that are Kenya shillings, Ugandan shillings, Tanzanian shillings, and the international currencies, the US dollar and the European currency, between the dates of 5th of February and 6th of February 2018. Now, first off, the regional currencies. The average exchange rate of the Kenyan shillings was 8.4 Rwandan francs. And on the Ugandan shilling, the average exchange rate was 0.2 Rwandan francs. And the Tanzanian shilling, the average exchange rate was 0.4 Rwandan francs. Moving on to the international currencies, we have the US dollar. The average exchange rate, 847.9 Rwandan francs. And the euro currency, the average exchange rate was 1,049.5 Rwandan francs. Economic factors which may affect the foreign exchange rate are inflation levels and trends, a balance of trade levels, and government fiscal policy. Political conditions such as destabilization of the government and political upheaval can negatively impact a country's economy and therefore also have an effect on the foreign exchange. Latest updates on what's trending on the market. Once again, on this week, our area of focus will be the foreign exchange market. Just like last week, we will be focusing on the average exchange rate. Well, unfortunately, my time is up, but if you wish to watch this show, log into our website, that is www.rba.co.rw. My name is Anna Riza. Thank you for watching and goodbye.